Welcome to the People Stack. Today, we're doing a deep dive into something really important for any small business or startup that's growing in India. We're talking about navigating the Prevention of Sexual Harassment Act, the POSH Act from 2013. We've gathered your notes, looked through the sources, and our mission today is, well, to cut through the legal stuff.
Yeah.
Get to the really vital, actionable bits, and maybe uncover some surprising things to help you build a workplace that's genuinely safe and inclusive. Okay, let's unpack this.
Indeed. And, for organizations, especially those hitting that 10 to 100 employee mark, getting POSH right isn't just about ticking a legal box. It's actually fundamental. It's about building a respectful culture. The benefit is really two-sided here. You meet the legal requirements, yes, but you also genuinely improve your workplace culture. It's about safety, trust, building it from the start.
That makes total sense. So let's start right at the basics. What exactly is the POSH Act? Simply put, it's a key law, 2013, aiming for safer workplaces, primarily protecting women in India. But maybe let's connect it directly. If you're managing a small team, maybe thinking of scaling up, why is this law suddenly so relevant?
Oh, it's hugely relevant, mainly because it applies so broadly, much more than people might think. The POSH Act covers all sectors, government, private, even the unorganized sector.
Yeah.
And the crucial number, the threshold for small businesses, is 10 or more employees. Once you hit that number, this law applies directly to you. It's quite fascinating, actually, how it ensures accountability even in really small setups.
Yeah, even the smaller ones.
Exactly. Think about remote teams, too. Maybe you have 10 people spread out. It still applies. The 10-employee rule is the trigger. And while it was initially focused on women, best practice now, and it's encouraged, is definitely to extend these protections to everyone, all genders, for a truly inclusive place.
That 10-employee figure really is the line in the sand then. And once you cross it, probably the biggest requirement is setting up an internal committee, the IC. You mentioned it's not optional if you've got 10-plus employees, it's mandatory. So tell us more about that. What's the structure? What does the IC actually do?
Right. The IC is the core of compliance once you hit that 10-employee mark. It's absolutely mandatory. Its main job is to handle any complaints of sexual harassment that come up. Now, the composition is specific. You need at least 4 members. And a strict rule, at least 50% must be women.
Okay, 50% women.
Yes. And specific roles, too. There's a presiding officer. She must be a senior woman employee. That's important for leadership and perspective. Then you need at least 2 other employees, ideally folks with some knowledge of social work or, legal matters. And this is crucial, 1 external member, someone from an NGO or a similar association.
An external member, right? Why is that so important?
It brings impartiality, objectivity, helps ensure the process is seen as fair, not just an internal thing you see, builds trust.
Got it. That makes sense. Neutrality.
Precisely. And their tenure is fixed, too. Members serve for a maximum of 3 years. Then the committee needs to be renewed or reformed. Now, for businesses that are growing, maybe opening new offices, this is really key. You need separate ICs for each office or branch, provided that branch also has 10 or more employees.
Ah, okay. So not just one central IC if you have multiple locations over that size.
Correct. Each location needs its own if it meets the 10-employee threshold. So an office with 50 needs 1, and a branch with, say, 15 also needs its own separate IC.
That's a really vital detail for scaling businesses. But what about the tiny setups? Like fewer than 10 employees, are they just off the hook?
No, not at all. They're covered, too. If a company has fewer than 10 employees, complaints don't just disappear. Instead, they get referred to something called a local committee, or LC. These are appointed by the government district officers. So there's still a formal path for redressal, even for the smallest teams. Which, brings up a good point for listeners. Have you checked if all your branches need their own IC? Or if you're under 10, do you know about the local committee process?
That's a really practical question. And it underlines that just forming the IC isn't the end of the story for employers, is it? That's really just the start. There are significant ongoing duties. These are the actual steps you need to be taking day to day.
You're absolutely right. The employer's responsibilities are quite extensive. First up is the POSH policy and awareness. You need to actually create a detailed policy. It has to define sexual harassment, clearly lay out the complaint procedure and state the consequences, and then, crucially, you have to share it widely. Make sure all employees get it, understand it, and display it somewhere prominent.
So visibility and understanding are key, not just having a policy filed away somewhere.
Exactly. Second, workshops and training. These are mandatory. Regular sensitization programs for all employees. Everyone needs to know what constitutes harassment, what the company policy is, and also specific, more in-depth training for the IC members themselves. They need to know how to handle complaints properly, effectively, impartially.
Okay, training for everyone, but specialized training for the IC. Makes sense.
Third, maintaining a safe work environment. This is proactive. Employers must ensure the workplace is safe. If something does happen, you need to take action. This could include providing interim relief during an investigation, maybe changing teams, granting leave, and, critically, ensuring zero retaliation against the person who complained or any witnesses. That's fundamental.
Zero retaliation. That builds the trust needed for people to actually come forward.
It's absolutely essential. Fourth, employers have to assist in complaints. If the complainant wants to go to the police, the employer needs to provide reasonable assistance. And if the complaint involves something serious under the Indian Penal Code, the IPC, the employer must forward it to the police.
Okay.
Fifth, confidentiality. This is strict. All complaints, the identities, the investigation details, everything must be kept confidential by the employer and the IC. Breaching this has penalties. And finally, disciplinary action. Once the IC finishes its inquiry and gives its report and recommendations, the employer must act on them, and they have to do it within 60 days. Actions could range from a warning to demotion, termination, or even monetary compensation decided by the IC. Looking at the bigger picture, all these duties, they're really about building a culture of trust and prevention, not just having a mechanism for when things go wrong.
That's a really powerful way to put it. Moving beyond just compliance to actually fostering that safe space. Okay, let's get into the mechanics of it then. An incident occurs. What happens next? What are the timelines, the steps for the complaint, the inquiry, the reporting?
Right. The process has very clear timelines, which is good for accountability.
Yeah.
So a woman facing harassment needs to file a written complaint with the IC. The deadline is generally within 3 months of the incident happening, although the IC can extend this time frame if there's a valid reason.
Okay, 3 months is the standard window.
Yes. Once the complaint is filed, the IC has 90 days to complete its inquiry. That's quite a strict deadline, keeps things moving. After finishing the inquiry, the IC has another 10 days to submit its report findings and recommendations to the employer. And then, as we mentioned, the employer has 60 days from receiving that report to take action based on the recommendations.
So pretty defined stages. Complaint within 3 months, inquiry within 90 days, report within 10 days, action within 60 days.
Tight. And what about ongoing reporting? To ensure transparency year on year? Yes. There's annual reporting required too. Each internal committee has to prepare an annual report. This report details things like the number of complaints received that year, how many were resolved, how many are still pending. Also, the actions taken by the employer and a summary of the awareness programs conducted. Beyond the IC's report, there's another layer. Companies must include a statement on POSH compliance in their board of directors' annual report, basically confirming they have an IC and are following the rules. These timelines and reporting duties, they really underscore the seriousness of it all, make it visible.
Transparency definitely seems to be a theme here. Okay, so let's talk consequences. What does all this mean if a business doesn't comply? For that small business owner maybe juggling 100 things, what's the biggest risk they might overlook?
That's a really good question. I think the biggest misconception might be thinking, oh, it's just a fine. And yes, for a first violation, there can be a fine up to 50,000 rupees, INR 50,000. But, and this is the overlooked risk, for repeated offenses, the penalties escalate significantly. It can actually lead to the cancellation of the company's business license.
Wow, cancellation, that's huge. That could shut a business down.
Exactly. It's potentially devastating.
Okay.
Shows how seriously this is viewed. And there's more. Failing to disclose your POSH compliance status in the board's report, that can attract penalties under the Companies Act as well. We're talking possibly up to INR 3 lakh for the company and INR 50,000 for the individual officers responsible.
Yeah.
So it's not just about the POSH Act fines. The risk is financial, yes, but also operational, even existential with the license cancellation possibility.
Okay, that really drives home the importance. License cancellation is definitely not just a slap on the wrist. And laws aren't static, are they? Things change. So staying updated on recent developments or proposed changes to the POSH Act must be pretty critical too.
Absolutely crucial. The landscape is evolving. There are a couple of key things happening. Firstly, new disclosure requirements are set to become more detailed, likely starting around 2025. Companies will probably need to report more specific data in their board reports, like the exact number of complaints filed and resolved, maybe even employee gender ratios, more granular detail.
More transparency again. Does that add a big burden for, say, a startup? Or is it manageable?
It means better tracking internally, for sure. But honestly, for a well-managed company, it should be a manageable extension. It fits the overall trend towards better corporate governance, doesn't it? Another important development is the SheBox portal. It's an online platform from the Ministry of Women and Child Development. It allows women employees anywhere to file POSH complaints directly online. These then get routed to the correct IC or LC, makes it much more accessible.
That online portal sounds like a really practical step forward.
It is. And looking ahead, there are proposed amendments being discussed for the Act itself. These are significant. One major proposal is to introduce a gender-neutral approach, extending the law's protection to all genders, not just women. Other potential changes include possibly extending the time limit for filing complaints, maybe making it more flexible. And there's talk of introducing a dedicated employment tribunal just to handle these kinds of complaints, which could streamline things. All these updates point towards, well, greater transparency, more inclusivity, and making the system work better for everyone.
That potential shift to gender neutrality, wow, that would be a landmark change if it happens. So thinking beyond just meeting the minimum legal requirements, what about best practices? How can businesses really embed this into their culture, go beyond just compliance?
That's the key, isn't it? Moving beyond the bare minimum. True compliance is about culture. A major best practice is leadership commitment. Founders, leaders, they need to visibly champion the POSH policy. It can't just be an HR thing. Their buy-in sets the tone. Secondly, really empower the internal committee. Make sure they have the training, yes, but also the authority and the resources to act independently and effectively. They need to feel empowered.
Right, give them teeth, essentially.
Exactly. Thirdly, focus on proactively creating a safe environment. This means prevention measures, yes, but also hammering home the confidentiality aspect, making reporting easy and truly, genuinely safe from any backlash. And finally, review and update policies regularly. Keep checking the law, see what's changing, and update your internal policy and practices accordingly. Don't let it get outdated. Because really, getting this right isn't just about avoiding fines. It's about building a place where people feel safe, respected, heard. And that, directly impacts productivity, loyalty, retention. It's actually a competitive advantage.
Definitely sounds like a win-win. But I can see how, for a small business owner or a startup founder, this might all feel, well, a bit overwhelming. It's a lot to manage. This is where practical tools might help, right?
That's a very perceptive point. It can seem like a lot. And yes, this is where platforms like OFRD.co could be really helpful. They have things like a policy generation module. Basically, it helps businesses create a compliant POSH policy quickly and easily. It uses an automated system to help draft a comprehensive policy tailored to your needs, hitting all the legal requirements. It takes away a lot of the heavy lifting and guesswork.
Okay, so it simplifies that policy creation part significantly.
It does. And beyond just drafting the policy, platforms like this often help with disseminating it too, making sure everyone gets it. They can also assist with organizing the required training sessions, and importantly, help track your compliance efforts. You have a record. So it streamlines the whole thing, reduces the risk of penalties, and helps build that safer environment we've been talking about. Using smart tools can really take the pressure off, letting small businesses focus on growth while still getting this crucial compliance piece right.
That's a really valuable point about leveraging tools. So wrapping this up, it seems clear that whether you're just starting or scaling up fast, getting POSH compliance right is non-negotiable. It's not just law, it's fundamental to building an inclusive culture, a harassment-free workplace. And hopefully this knowledge empowers you to build that better workplace.
Absolutely. And maybe one final thought to leave you with, something to mull over. Consider this. How could taking a truly proactive, transparent approach to POSH, really going beyond just checking the boxes, actually become a significant competitive advantage for your small business, especially when it comes to attracting and keeping the best talent in today's world?
A fantastic question to think about. That brings us to the end of this deep dive on the people stack. We really hope this gave you the clarity and the actionable insights you were looking for. Join us again next time for another deep dive into the topics that matter most to you.